Instead of getting ready for a concert, Mike Frazier is cleaning out Smiley's Acoustic Cafe in downtown Greenville.
It didn't make sense for me to be paying to come to work.
The live music spot was a staple in Greenville.
I grew up with a lot of these places.
Smiley's was definitely a home for all us musicians.
But high insurance costs and rent drowned out the music for Frazier.
Everything has gone up dramatically in the past couple years, so there's only so much of that you can pass on to a customer.
I can't say I'm surprised. I am disappointed.
In 2017, the state passed a law requiring businesses that serve alcohol to have a minimum of $1 million in liquor liability insurance. The executive director of the South Carolina Insurance Association says businesses are now paying up to $50,000 in premiums a year, and some insurance companies are leaving the state.
What we have seen is that $1 million limit is driving up the cost of settlements for insurance companies.
Alcohol liability insurance will be on the radar screen starting in January.
State Representative Jason Elliott says he is hearing from more and more businesses about this topic and expects the General Assembly to look into it when they return to session.
The issue is complicated because the competing interest. You have the interest of the business from an economic standpoint and a viability financially, but you also have the competing interest of the innocent South Carolinian or someone who's in South Carolina who is tragically the victim of an alcohol-related incident.
But Frazier believes if this policy isn't changed quickly, Smiley's won't be the last to go.
I think you're going to see a lot of places like this, mom and pop places that give Greenville the flavor that it has, going away.
Now, several other establishments I spoke with off camera shared those same concerns as Frazier. Now, the legislature is not due back in session until the beginning of next year. For now, reporting, Zach Perlutsky, Fox Carolina News.